If we're going to find x first, x is the altitude. Y is a leg. Does everybody remember that if you have a right triangle, the two sides that are not the hypotenuse are leg 1 and leg 2, okay? And if I draw an altitude here, this is the altitude, the guy in the middle, the guy going through the middle of the triangle. You understand that? So the first rule, and I'm going to read it over and over again until you guys get it. You follow these two rules like you follow a recipe. You don't put the eggs in before the flour. You put it in order, and you do follow the recipe, okay? Yesterday we learned about geometric mean, and whoever is the geometric mean is in two places. Well, the rule says the altitude is the geometric mean. So who's the altitude in this picture? So the altitude is going through the middle of the triangle. So it's x is the geometric mean. So it goes in two places, kitty corner. Everybody remember that from yesterday? Between the two segments of the hypotenuse. Well, this guy across from the right triangle, this guy is the hypotenuse. So who are the two segments? They're 3 and 8, or 8 and 3. Okay, so we've got here that x squared equals 24. And then to leave the x alone, we square root both sides. X equals 4 point something.
4.9.
Two places. 90? 4.90. Just do two places so I know that you've looked at the rounding. Okay? Now, if you look at the other rule has to do with the leg. And this one is one that kids get confused about. The leg is the geometric mean between the whole hypotenuse and the segment next to that leg. Okay? So we know the leg is y. Y is the geometric mean, goes in two places. How much is the whole hypotenuse measure? So since the hypotenuse is this side here, it's the side opposite the right angle in the triangle, it's 11. And what is the segment next to that leg? Is 3. Does everybody understand why I picked the 3 and not the 8?
Because it's right now.
If I was looking for this side over here, I would pick the 8. But since I'm looking for the right side, I picked the guy on the right and the hypotenuse. So that's going to be y squared equals 33. Square root both sides. Y equals 5 point something.
Okay. 5.74.
So it's 5.74. Everybody agree with that? So you found x and y for that picture using that rule. We're talking about the whole triangle. This whole side is the hypotenuse.
Okay.
And this is segment 1 and segment 2. And this is leg 1 and leg 2. Okay? And this is the altitude. All right? The altitude is the geometric mean between the two segments it creates, segment 1 and segment 2. And leg 1 is the geometric mean between the whole hypotenuse and segment 1. And leg 2 is the geometric mean between the whole hypotenuse and segment 2. Write all that down. If I read the rule does not change, but where the variables are does change. So you follow the rule, not the variables, okay? The altitude, which is this guy right here, is the geometric mean between the two segments that it creates, which would be x and 2. Everybody understand why I put the numbers where I did? So 2 root 3 times 2 root 3 is 12. And then you divide by 2, and x equals 6. So we got our x. Well, the leg is the geometric mean, so y is a leg. So it goes here and here. Between the whole hypotenuse, which is 8, because 6 plus 2 is 8, and the section closest to that leg, which is 6. 6 is closer to the y than the 2 is. Everybody see why I picked 6 and not 2?
Yeah. You do whatever's closest to the y.
Yeah, the segment closest to the y. So we get y squared equals 48, and y equals high 6s. Tell me what it is. So the answer is 6.93 when you round to 2 places, square root of 48. Okay? So they want us to find the altitude, and it's not really marked, but we're going to put a little X here because that is the altitude. It's the guy right going through the big triangle. So the altitude is the geometric mean between the 2 segments it creates. Well, if this guy is 12 and the whole thing is 16, this little piece here is 4. Does everybody get that? Because 16 plus 4 plus 12 equals 16. 16 minus 12 is 4. So we put 4 and 12, which is 48 again. And when we find the square root of 48, we get that 6.93 is what you got before?
Yeah. So, why'd you put X there?
So your first thing is to set it up. If you want to do the first 3, like the first 4 are what we did yesterday, finding geometric mean. Take out a blank piece of paper. There's paper up here. Write your answers on a blank piece of paper and take a picture of that. It's easier for me than you cramming it in here, right? But on the starting at number 21, you're going to set yours up. Set up the first 3 or 3 of these, any 3, and let me see it. Make sure you're setting it up right. Because that's the biggest mistake made. Your cross multiplication, I think you know how to do now. We've done enough of that. I mean, you could make a mistake there too. But that's the biggest mistake. So go ahead and do that.
So do our work on this paper?
To find x first, you need the y. You can't have 2 variables. So you got to find a way in that there's only 1 variable. Well, I know that this leg is the geometric mean between the whole hypotenuse and the piece next to that leg. Everybody look at that. So we can find z very easily. 4z equals 100. Z equals 25. Well, I like to put that right up here. Okay? If z is 25 and that little piece to the right is 4, what is y? Is 21. Now I can find x pretty easy. I already found z and y. I say the altitude is the geometric mean between the 2 pieces it creates. So x squared equals 84.
Yeah, 84.
And x equals 9 point something.
9.17.
All right, so you got x, z, and y. Then you got them all different ways.